Welcome back to Endless Journeys. This is our question of the week, where we will tackle real questions from vet tech entrepreneurs, navigating business, burnout, and building something of their own. Let's dive in. Before we get into this week's question of the week, we actually want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Action Vet Tech Services.
ABTS is an RVT-owned staffing, training, and consulting agency founded by Jacqueline Phillips, RVT, based out of North Carolina with a nationwide reach supporting credentialed veterinary technicians.
They offer flexible relief staffing, RACE-approved continuing education, and consulting to help clinics and technicians grow.
So if you're a tech looking for new opportunities or a clinic needing experienced support, definitely check out Action Vet Tech Services.
And now let's get into this week's question of the week.
All right, everybody. So we have our first question. No, we don't have our first question of the week. What am I saying, Jen?
Well, it's our first question of the week that we've recorded in a while. So I guess technically it could be, but we have an official question of the week. So I think Michelle got this one, was personally emailed to you, or is that right?
Yes, it was emailed to my email link in my TikTok account for the Mobile Vet Tech. It was
Okay.
emailed right into there, which I have that email set up for technicians who have questions. So she sent it right to the right place.
Nice.
Yes. So we got a message from Kayla, and she wrote, and that's so sweet to what she says. She says, I am writing to express my appreciation for the insight and advice you and Jen share on your podcast and social media. Your content has inspired me to consider transitioning into mobile veterinary technician work, a path I had not previously explored despite my 12 years in the field and my experience as a licensed veterinary technician. I am currently evaluating the possibility of offering mobile services such as wellness care, dental cleanings, nutrition, education, and medication administration for canine, feline, and exotic patients.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? I like the exotics. Given your experience, I would appreciate your guidance on several logistical aspects of running such a business. So in the first part of the question, she asked about payment and pricing. I feel like we may have discussed this in passing briefly way back in the beginning, Jen, but not recently. But she did ask about payment and pricing. And she asked, what forms of payment do you accept? Do you utilize an hourly rate or a flat rate service rate? If you use an hourly rate, how did you determine and figure that? I mean, and we've talked about that before in previous episodes. In case they send you home early, you're still getting paid for your entire shift. So I think relief techs definitely. I know for the mobile side, I have an average. I know in my head what I make that is hourly and what I expect to make per route and what I want. That doesn't mean I always get it because I charge a flat rate for my clients. I do have a multi-pet discount. And if a client is too far out of my radius, I will make them do a non-refundable security deposit. And I do add on extra fees depending on how far they are outside of my radius. And at this point, it's really hard for me to add on any more people that are way far out, because then I'm talking, if we're 20 minutes out, that's 40 minutes driving just there and back and spending time with their pets. That can throw off my entire schedule. So for me, I don't take a lot of people out of my service area, but if I do, that's when I add on. But for me, it's a flat rate. Everybody gets the same, whether it's cat, dog, anal, or nail, it's all the same price. Just keeps it easier in my head. I can't charge an hourly fee for myself.
So, Michelle, if she's looking into doing exotic patients, though, would you say if you were looking at doing exotic patients for your mobile services, would you change your service fees for that? Like, would you, because I know like with some exotic patients in clinic, sometimes they're a little bit more expensive, I feel like. Or, like I've seen some clinics where they charge more for exotics just because it's going to take more time, and because exotics are so fragile. And then I've seen some people charge less because of those exact reasons too. So what would you do if she's adding in exotics to that?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't do exotics, but I worked under one DVM who did, and her exotics were, the exam itself was more than traditional cat or dog. but the
Yeah.
pricing for everything was the same. So if she dispensed medication, if she did, uh, you know, an X-ray, it was still the same, from what I recall. I believe morally, I would want to charge the same because I'm still working on an animal, whether it has scales, feathers, or fur. My time is still there and I'm still performing the same service. So morally, I would feel like I would charge the same.
Uh,
But I also think about it this way. Let's say your insurance company is going to give you a quote for a small animal, but now you're adding on exotics and your general liability insurance will probably go up adding exotics, I would imagine. If that's the case, then I have to charge more to cover for the addition on my policy. So I feel financially that might be the other way to look at it is when we're looking into policies, how much more am I paying to be able to be covered to do these exotic animals?
okay. Yeah, that's something that, yeah, that's not something that I would have ever thought of. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely something to think about when
Yes.
you are adding in those type of services and think about, I mean, I don't necessarily think that there's a right or wrong answer as far as charging more, charging less for exotics. I believe that the way Michelle kind of what her reasonings were, that completely makes sense. But at the same time, like she said too, if you are starting to, if your insurance coverage and what you are getting charged for your liability insurance is changing based on that, then that might give you your answer right there as well
Yeah.
on what you need to do as far as what to charge.
Yes. And on that note, for the people who maybe aren't in the unattached vet tech group, when you are looking at general liability insurance or grooming insurance for your business, we have done surveys within the unattached vet tech group. Hartford is a good place to call, and so is State Farm, and then Pet Care. Oh God, Pet Care.
I think it's just pet care insurance, right?
Yes,
PCI.
it yeah, and that's who I have too, which is really funny because I always forget, like, I'm like, is it Pet I always wanna say Pet Care International, but it's Pet
Mm.
Care Insurance, that's who I have. Almost all of them are under $50 a month, so take that into consideration. It is so easy because believe me, they wanna sell to you, so don't be intimidated when we start talking about insurance. They're lined up to sell you insurance policies, that's how they make their money too, so give one of those guys a call if you're looking at doing this, especially if you wanna be toying around with exotics because we know how exotics are, they look at you and they just keel over. Like
Right, exactly. That's what I
yeah,
said. Some
yeah.
people charge more because of that, and I've also seen people charge less because of those exact same reasons. So you just kind of have to figure out what works best for you and what makes most sense in your head, and also what your insurance will cover, and whether they're going to charge you more for that as well. And then you might have to change your prices based on that.
Yes. Um, Part two, she asked about traveling. How do you calculate and charge for mileage? Is this a separate fee or integrated into your service rates? Well, I mean, I guess I already answered that part, right?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
did.
as far as travel, I know that for me, I just keep track of my mileage. I use the app Mile IQ, which we've talked about, and it basically keeps track of whenever I drive, whether it's a personal drive or a business drive. And so that keeps track of my mileage, which essentially keeps track of how much money I've tried, like, my app turns it into money, if that makes sense. I don't
Hmm.
know, of how much it charges because I know it changes, and then I just give it to my accountant, and then my accountant figures it all out because it's too much for me. I get really overwhelmed with stuff like that, and of course, I wanna make sure that it gets done right. So, so the way I charge for traveling, though, is I mean, I think that also depends on how far you're willing to go. I know that some people are willing to only go like an hour out of their radius for their actual mobile services. For my relief services, the farthest I've gone is about 3 hours. I haven't done any more than that. I really don't know if I want to do any more than that because it's a lot. And I charge $50 per hour of my travel back and forth to home. So
I like that.
that's what I do. And I know that, so I have a travel charge in there, and then I keep track of my mileage, and then my mileage is a write-off for my taxes. And so, but I know some people do it a little bit differently. And like I said, we've talked to people who are like, I refuse to go farther than a half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. What's the farthest you've ever traveled, Michelle?
Okay, that can go two ways. It depends. If I have a new client that's onboarding, 20 minutes max, and they're going to receive heavier fines. I don't know, I'm going to say heavier fines. They're going to receive heavier fees plus that non-refundable security deposit, because if they cancel at the last minute, I booked up all that time, I'm be pissed. So, but I have traveled 45 minutes out of my way if I had to reschedule like a good client. I think a couple weeks ago, I remember texting one client, hey, I'll be there in 45 minutes. I just left the client before you. I was going from one end of the town to the other, but she's an awesome client. She was worth it. I didn't care. 45 minutes for two dogs. I did it. So it depends. New clients, I'd say 20 minutes. Old clients who are just needing to get moved around somewhere, I think 45 minutes is where I've maxed out, but I would drive up to an hour depending on the client for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that one's not super black and white either. Unfortunately, it also depends on what are your gas prices right now. Gas prices are super high in some states, and they are, I mean, I think they're high everywhere, but I know they're higher in some states. I live in Idaho right now, and I think the highest our gas is like up to $4, but I know if we drive just 20 minutes over to Washington, they're up to like $6, $7. So I mean, you have to think about that as well. You have to make it worth it for you. And you have to think about those things because I know that Michelle has said it multiple times with mobile services. It is a luxury service for some people. So you have to make something in this business. You can't be losing money or else you won't be able to continue to do this. So those are all things that you have to think about. And I know with gas prices getting higher, some people might have to shorten their travel time a little bit too.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I'm always advocating like put your client on a set route. Give yourself flexibility, especially in times like this. It is not unreasonable to ask your clients for a 2-hour window time frame. Comcast will quote you 8 hours. Like some will say, we'll show up anytime during the morning or afternoon. So to give your clients a 2-hour time frame, as long as you're texting them and saying, hey, I'm at the house before you, I'm, leaving their house, and you give them some updates, most of them are going to be happy because it's your business and you need to be profitable. And if you don't allow yourself much window time, you're not going to be as profitable as you can if you're able to tweak your schedule as it goes, because you're going to have clients who are going to have last minute accommodation requests. And especially if they're a good client, you're going to want to take care of them. Or it's just, you just don't know what's going to happen when you're juggling 8 to 15 schedules per day beyond your own. So that's why for me, it's so important to give that window time frame, because it is going to allow you to be the most fuel efficient as possible. Other people may not believe that, but it's your business and you can run that business how you see fit. That's the beauty of this. It's find out what works best for you.
Right, right. At the end of the day, we're just giving insight into what we do, what we've done, and what we know other people have done. But at the end of the day, not everybody works the same way. And if that doesn't work specifically for you, then that's okay. You gotta
That's okay.
figure out what works specifically for you and for your clients. So that's definitely I think it makes a lot of sense when Michelle talks about things like that, but it may not work for you. So, and then again, just going back to that travel, you do really want to make sure that you are just keeping track of gas prices and then also your gas mileage on your actual vehicle. But either way, make sure that you are always keeping track of your mileage, whether you're writing it down, whether you have an app for it, it is still really, really important that you are keeping track of that because your vehicle, everything that you do in that vehicle that pertains to your business is a write-off, including that mileage for business purposes. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I use an app. There's lots of different type of apps out there that will keep track of it. And my app, I think it's $8.99 a month that I pay for that.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's really not that much.
Yeah, and this app may help. My uncle just told me about it last night, but I think it's called Gas Buddy, I think it is, where it shows you where all of the gas stations are around and how much they're currently charging as
Oh,
well.
wow.
Yeah, he just told me about that last night as we did a road trip and he was checking it to see where we should be getting gas along the way as we embarked on a 15-hour trip around Arizona. And I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, I think it is called My Gas Buddy or Gas Buddy or something along those lines. So I'm going to be downloading that onto my phone as well.
So, with the next question, she does have client management on there. So, the client management question, it says, what is your process for onboarding new clients? And do you require a deposit or partial payment prior to appointments? So, this question, Kayla, we are actually going to defer you to an episode that just came out, no, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It is Michelle's onboarding form episode where literally we talk about specifically what she does for her clients for onboarding and if she does require a deposit or a partial payment prior to her appointments, why she does, or I believe you do, right, Michelle?
I don't unless they give me red flags
Okay. So
or they're
she
out of my zone, like I mentioned. But I've talked a lot about the red flags that clients will give me. I'm like, oh, you're going to deposit. I don't trust you. So not
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. So I'm going to defer you to that episode. So I'm actually going to go on here real quick and I might be able to actually put the that episode in the show notes as well, just in case.
Okay.
But that episode came out. So we called it the Mobile Vet Tech Contract Playbook Michelle's version. And I published that one out March 9th of this year, 2026. So it is about an hour and a half long, but it's a good listen. And honestly, it's one of our most downloaded episodes so far.
No shit.
Yeah, it sure
Cool.
is. So
Yes.
that's definitely what we recommend. If you're listening and you're also wondering more about the relief side of things, I also made we did a relief contract one as well. That one we named the Relief Tech Contract Playbook Jen's version, and that one came out February 9th, 2026 of this year. And that one's also about an hour and a half. So
That's a good one.
that's what
Yeah.
we are going to recommend as far as that one is concerned, because there's just a lot more to that question
Details.
that we can delve into on like a quick question of the week episode. But thankfully, that's why we've made these other episodes so that with more detail, you can just hop onto those episodes.
Yes. And to the listeners, I know Kayla listens regularly. She actually sent us this question of the week before we recorded it. So she didn't know that those were already out there at that point when she sent this in.
Okay.
So, well, those came out afterwards. So I just want to put that in there. She emailed us and we were going through the rest of them and it cycled through after that, after we already recorded. So, yes. Okay. The next part, she's asking about communication. What platforms do you use to communicate with clients? Example, email, text, or specific apps? And how do you maintain boundaries regarding your personal contact information? Ooh, that's a good one. I would like to know for Jen too, like with your clinics, with your cell phone, if you have a work phone, like how do you do that? I'm because I don't think me and you talk about what you've done for that.
Yeah. Honestly, I have my personal cell phone number out there for everyone mother and grandmother to see. And I've thought about it sometimes where I was like, maybe I shouldn't have my personal phone number out there, but I do. And it's just the same number that I've always had. It doesn't bother me at all. For the most part, they don't call me. They usually just contact me through email. So email is my biggest form of communication. And then there's been a couple times where if I have a job coming up soon, I will personally text the practice manager or the medical director, whoever I'm working with. So usually it's through text or email. I don't really get a lot of phone calls. I mean, they've called me here and there, but yeah, that's it doesn't bother me as much. When I also had my nutrition business, though, my nutrition business, they did have my private cell phone number, and I did have an email as well. If I would have gone back and changed anything, I would have only given an email out. I would not have given my personal cell phone number out. Or I would have done like Messenger app or like WhatsApp or something like that, just because with clients, I think with other veterinary professionals, there's a little bit more boundary there, but maybe not so much with clients, especially if if they feel like they're having an emergency or they feel like they need to talk to you right now. They might blow up your phone,
They will.
whether that's texting, calling, things of that nature. But yeah, that's what I normally do.
Yes. And yes, Jen, they absolutely will blow up your phone. And it's never the good ones though.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I made some mistakes in the beginning. When I first started, I would give out my personal cell phone number because I was like, well, I'm only gonna meet these guys once or twice. What's the big deal? Right. That was my thought process. So a lot of my old school clients have like my personal cell phone number. And but then I have Google Voice, and that's what I have for my work numbers, my Google Voice, and that's also on my website as well. On my website, I have my email. I have, you can contact me directly through the website, and then you can text me through the Google Voice. I also have my Instagram and my Facebook for my clients. A lot of them will find me on Facebook, but once they find me on Facebook, I try to convert them right over to texting because I just want to keep everything simple for myself. And I like to keep all communication texting. Number one, I'll have it in writing because if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen and it could always turn into a he said, she said thing. So for me, I'm very, very minimal over the phone just because I want to make sure if something happens, I can default, no, Mrs. Smith, see, do you remember when you texted me this? I have it right here. So for me, that's important. But it is nice to, hear another person's voice because you can maybe detect funkiness. I had a gentleman call me from Ohio one time, and that man was like 3 sheets to the wind. Oh, Lord. And I would have not picked that up texting. And yeah, so I mean, there's certain things like that. And I don't know how and again, he was in Ohio and I'm in Michigan, but it was kind of a very, very funny conversation. We just chatted for a few minutes. We had a good old time. But that would have been a thing I would have missed texting. So make sure if you're going to talk to them and onboard them, if you want to hear their voice, you want to hear the sound, make sure you follow up with, as we discussed on the phone, here's what we need to know before the appointment, this, and this, and this. And make sure that you at least have that in writing if you're going to onboard them over the phone to back yourself up. Oh, and maintaining personal boundaries. With new clients, I set those boundaries hard, fast, and quick. I know onboarding new clients after 5 p.m. or on the weekends. That's a no-no because then they kind of come in and they're like, oh, well, she texted me anytime, so I can text her anytime. And I already got that precedent set. So whenever I onboard new clients, if they've messaged me Saturday morning, I will text them Monday at like 9:05 and be like, oh, I hope you had a great weekend. Just kind of like almost reaffirming that that was a weekend and that was a time for me. But I will tell you this, all my good clients, if it's 7 o'clock and they got a question about Fido, I absolutely answer it because they are my clients. I know who they are. I want to be there when they're concerned. I'd rather have them ask me than Dr. Google. I'd rather have them ask me than panic over something they don't need to panic about or send them to the emergency room when they're not panicking. So if my good clients text me or call me after hours about a question, that's totally fine by me. I'm an open book for them because they're my established clients. But newbies, I have to weed them out.
Yeah, and that makes sense. As far as like any additional advice or tips, the only other thing, I mean, obviously, we always give out advice and tips pretty much in every single episode that we come out with. So, as long as you keep listening, I'm sure you will hear more advice and tips through other questions of the weeks as well. We have been doing question of the week episodes about every other week, along with our big episodes as well. But I do want to say there is another episode that is coming out. I'm not sure if this episode is going to be out before or after that, but we are coming out with another episode that's plotting your exit strategy. So if you are still working in clinic and you're thinking about switching over to mobile services or relief services, we are going to be coming out with an episode that is just really just talking about kind of the smart ways to move into that transition and how to do it a little bit more smoothly, just based off of how we did things and how and based off of what other people have said as well. So just keep an ear out for that one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I like that one. I
Hmm.
do. Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right. So thank you for the question of the week.
Yeah,
And if
thank
you
you so
have
much,
any
Kayla.
more, yeah, and also for the kind words. And if
Yes.
you have any more, me and Jen are always here to answer those questions of the week from you guys. Thank you. All
Yeah. All right. See you later, you guys.
right. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Journeys, the VetTech Odyssey podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some valuable insights. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review and let us know what you think. You can also connect with us on all social media platforms at Endless Journeys, the VetTech Odyssey podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a positive impact in the veterinary world. We need you guys. Have a great day.